Are you open-minded? 그런 말이에요. 홍대보에. They ask, are you open-minded? Cultural difference. Okay, 문화. 그것도 문화예요. Open-minded is not the same open-minded in foreign countries. Okay, I forgot my question. Oh, my friends and coworkers. Okay. 네, 잠시만요. 또 여기. Okay, when did I start talking? 안녕하세요. 제가 29살 셋입니다. I'm 29 years old. And I've been in Korea almost 10 years. I went to my country and came back a lot of times, but it's been 10 years for now. And I've been an English teacher for almost 3 years now. Before I come to Korea, I've worked as a dance teacher, a dancer, and what else? I worked in TikTok company as a company moderator, and I worked as a private tutor in English. Before I came to Korea, I actually wanted to be an idol, so I studied dancing in technical way, dancing and singing, and then I watched a lot of videos about artists, and that's why I wanted to be an idol, because in other countries, except Japan and Korea, I think, maybe in China too, we don't get to sing and dance at that time, so I really wanted to be able to do that. So in those countries, I felt closer to Korea, so I wanted to come here and work in here. But after some time, because of my age too, I kind of quit about that mindset, and I started working as an English teacher because I thought that I can work as an English teacher in here, and it can be a good part-time job because I'm actually a university student right now. Because I like to sing and dance, I really wanted to be an idol in here, but then it changed over time, and I thought about what other works I can do in Korea, and there was a couple of things. You can do serving as a part-time job, or you can work at guest houses as cleaners or organizers or in reception, or you can be an English teacher, depends on the person. You can be an English teacher and you can work in 식당, restaurants, like I told you, as a servicers and waitress, like that. And the reason I wanted to work in Korea was to be able to live easily and be in the locals. Okay. The time when I started thinking seriously about working in Korea was the time that I started in university in Korea. So after you graduated from university in Korea, you can get another visa that's called searching job visa, and you can get that for 2 years. And after that visa, you can actually work in a company with a legal visa. And because I'm studying in university right now, I can have many more options than other foreigners that are graduated their own universities. So after those, when I started in university, I thought about working in advertisement or visual department because I'm working in 시각 design. And in that visual design department, you can make advertisements or branding or anything related to drawing or something like that. You can do also webtoon as well, which is I'm thinking about that I wanted to do. I wanted to become a webtoon artist right now. So that is the time that I started thinking seriously about working in Korea, because I wanted to stay here. Of course, it should be the cultural differences, because working culture in Korea and working culture in your own country will be difficult and will be different, and you have to, let's say it like that. So if you want to come in Korea and you want to work in here, but the culture is obviously going to be different, but do you know what you have to do? That's you have to adapt, because you're not Korean, yeah, you're a foreigner, but you have to adapt Korean culture because this is the country that you choose to come here. So they are not going to adapt you, but you have to adapt their culture, which means you have to learn about their culture. You have to learn how to wear your clothes. So if it, for example, if it was my country, I could actually not wear this one, because in my country, this is not weird, I would say. It's not weird to wear this top without the jacket. But in culture in Korea, you gotta like a little bit cover up. a little bit. Like short skirts, no problem. Short shorts, no problem. But a little bit cleavage and shoulders might be difficult in some companies or in some universities or out just on the streets as well. So something like that, you gotta think a little bit more and search a little bit on internet or videos like that. You're gonna be researching a little bit, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
네.
So when I first researching jobs in Korea, but my story can be a little bit different from yours because I came to Korea first and then I started searching for the job. So you might be in your own country and searching jobs for Korea and then thinking about coming to Korea. But for my case, I was already in Korea and I started searching jobs. But for the best recommendations that I can give it to you, that can be Craigslist, Albumon, or Dangun, which actually Dangun now has an English site. It's Carrot, but it starts with K, so Carrot. Yeah, that is Carrot that you can search for. And in there you can have English language and Korean language too, but in Albumon you gotta learn Korean because I think it's only in Korean right now. But for Craigslist and Carrot, you can find some English job opportunities as well. So for my case, I searched for Craigslist, which I found my serving job before my job as an English teacher. I served people. So it was serving job from Craigslist, and my English job now, I'm in an academy, English academy, it's also from Craigslist. But I know a couple of my friends actually found jobs in Albumon and Carrot. So you gotta check these too. These are good sites. I couldn't find jobs in Carrot, but my friends changed a lot of jobs in Carrot and Albumon. For me, especially, I used Craigslist. Because for me, the English would actually be easier for my applications as well because you have to put your resume in it. And I had my Korean resume and English resume too, but in Craigslist, you only have to use your English resume, so it was easier for me. And I used that one. And you can actually track your applications in Craigslist too. If you make an account in Craigslist, you can see all of your applications in your account. So you can track on your applications as well. And you can actually prepare your resume, CV or resume, whichever you prefer. You can just see in there too, and you can get their contact numbers. Sometimes there are also like tutoring, English tutoring works as well, and you can just 바로 엄마랑 just directly with mommy or with daddy, I don't know. You can just contact them from KakaoTalk, which is another point. You have to have KakaoTalk. If you don't have KakaoTalk, forget about Korea, forget about working. You have to have your KakaoTalk, which is like essential in Korea, and they use it everywhere. Kakao Map, KakaoTalk, Naver. You have to have these. Okay, so about the visas, for me, I have a lot of visas probably as a foreigner. First time I came here, I went back to my country and came back again a lot of times. So for three to 4 years, I didn't have a visa. And I couldn't work because of a visa. So if you don't have a visa, you cannot work. You have to have just a visa, whichever it is. It doesn't matter. You can have your D4, which is language student visa, D2, your university student visa, E6, which is artist visa. I'm just gonna tell about the visas that I had because I only know about these ones. So, and also we have F6 visa, which is spouse visa. Like if your significant other is Korean, your wife or your husband is Korean, you can get that visa, but you have to apply for it. It doesn't automatically come. Like if you get married, it doesn't mean that you automatically have the F6 visa. You have to apply for that as well, and you have to prepare your forms. It's a long process. And let me check. Okay, so in my case, I had my D4, which was language visa, and if you have your language visa, you can have your part-time job, but you have a limit, which is, I think, weekly 10 hours, and you have to have your visa for 6 months. So if you're a language student, you can get a 3 months visa, and 6 months visa, and 1 year visa, and 2 years visa. So if you have 3 months language visa, you cannot work. If you have 6 months and up visa, you can work up to 10 hours a week. And then after graduation from language school, you can go to university, which will give you D2 visa. And with D2 visa, you can work more. If you don't have any topic is a Korean language exam. So if you don't have topic, you're still the same as a language student, so you can work up to 10 hours a week. And if you get your topic 3, you can work up to, I think it was between 20 to 24 hours a week. And if you have topic 4, topic 5, topic 6, your working hours just goes up. So I think the maximum is 30 plus hours. So you can work more than 30 hours a week. And for E6 visa, this is important. So if you have E6 visa, you can only work in artist jobs, such as is modeling, singing, dancing, photographing is also artist visa, or in an artist company. You have to have your company as well, and you have to have proof of that you're an artist. Like if you're a dancer, for example, like myself, you have to have your dancing videos in your company, so you can prove to the immigration office that, look, I'm a dancer. Or if you're a model, you have to have your photo shoots to bring it with you to the immigrant's office, so you can prove that you're working as an artist for real. But that is the tips that I can give you. So I'm working as an English teacher right now in an English academy. I'm working in a kindergarten, actually not a school, not elementary school or high schools or adults. I'm working with kindergarten students, which is from age 3 to 7. So as I prepared for my job interview, I actually made sure that I have my teaching certificate. If you're from English-speaking country, you don't have to have your teaching certificate. But even if you're from those countries, if you have your certificate, it will make a difference, because there are so many English teachers that want to get a job, and everyone knows that it's hard to get a job in Korea. So be prepared, be happy, yeah. And you can have your English teaching certificate, and you can have your CV, and if you have experience in those fields, that will make a lot of advantages for your other rivals. And what else? So for my interview, actually, I'm gonna tell you about my interview. I went to the kindergarten. It's actually the academy, and no one was there. It was before the start hours. So my 원장님, which is your boss, the headmaster, not kindergarten. Anyways, my boss, my 원장님, was at the door, and he told me to come inside, and he told me, oh, where are you from? What did you do before coming here? How long have you been in Korea? Did you have experience? Can you speak to me in English? Because I spoke to him how English and Korean. So he didn't know if I could speak English, and he didn't know if I can speak Korean. It was a little bit complicated, but we made it. Yeah, we made it. So he wanted me to actually, like on the spot, he wanted me to read a book. He just gave me a kindergarten book and told me, so I'm gonna act like a 3-year-old student, and you're going to be the teacher. Can you read me the book? And I said, oh, okay. And I didn't think about it. I didn't think I would read a book to my boss on my first day in a kindergarten. So I wasn't prepared. I was so nervous at the moment. I was so nervous in my first day. I didn't even get the job at the moment. It was an interview, but I was so nervous because it was my first real job interview in Korean. And you don't have to be nervous. Don't worry about it, because the person next to you or like in front of you is nervous as well. So don't worry about it. Just relax and be natural. So you just have to be chill, and how can I say it? I don't know. I'm so nervous. I'm working in a kindergarten that's called Aikumi. So as a foreigner, I can tell you that Aikumi is a good academy, and you can apply for that. It depends on your 원장님. But usually there are good people, and they like to have foreign teachers that teach English, because I think some of them has Korean teachers as well. But if you're a foreigner, I think it's better for kids to experience different accents. So actually, I think it's better for have foreigners from different countries. But I think it's better for the kids. Anyway, so my academy, I go there 3 days in a week because I'm in university. I gotta study. So I go there after studies. It starts, most of the part-time jobs starts afternoon, and you can work, depends on the job, you can work until midnight, or as me, I work until 6 or 7. 6 or 7 depends on the day. So I go there Monday, Friday, and Saturday. Yeah, the thing that you have to maybe work in weekends too. It depends on your job. So not every job is weekend proof. You have to work in weekends too sometimes. Yeah, and I work there for 4 hours a day, sometimes 5 hours. I think it was on weekends we work 5 hours, and on weekdays we have 4 hours or 3 hours. It depends on the day because it's a private academy and people have to bring their kids. And sometimes working in Korea hard, you know, and the parents are busy, so they cannot bring their kids every hour. And it's like a private class, not one-on-one, but you have 1 hour with a kid. So the kids are coming only once or twice a day. In our academy, we are teaching in English, but we have art class, speaking class, science class, we have literacy class, and we had gabe class, you know, wooden blocks, and you make things with those blocks. But the thing that is important is that we speak in English as teachers. And even though we just play games with them, we just sometimes dance in speaking classes. We dance and sing, and we have our workbooks. You're gonna learn those things too. And we have cooking classes, which was the hardest for me because I cannot cook. But I had to learn how to cook, like preparing sandwiches and making cakes. So yeah, you gotta learn these too. It's not just about English. Even if you're an English teacher, sometimes you have to teach them basic stuff like cutting. They need to learn how to cut because they're 3-4 years old, so they need to have to cut. They need to how to hold a pen. So sometimes they hold the pen like this, and you have to teach how to pen like this. So like something like that. And for my academy right now, we have those classes, and every student can get whatever class they want. We have our curriculum, which is in English, so you don't have to know Korean. But your students are 3 years old. Your students are 4 years old. They cannot speak in English fluently like you. So sometimes they say 신나요, or sometimes they say 엄마 보고 싶어요. You have to know what they mean. If you don't hear them, if you don't comfort them, they're gonna start crying. So these basic needs you have to know in Korean. So you have to know basic Korean even if you're an English teacher. In my academy, we cannot speak Korean, but I have to know some Korean, so if they have some needs, I can tell their moms because they're waiting outside. So like that. If you don't speak in Korean, you have to know, you have to understand. So that is the 중요한 point, the important point, that you have to understand Korean. I don't think I have any challenges about knowing Korean because I have to speak English, so I didn't have any challenges in Korean. But as I told you, cultural difference. You have to know how to dress in Korea or in your company because your company is not gonna give you uniform. There's no uniforms in company. There's no uniform in my kindergarten. So I have an apron, but like under that apron, I have to wear my own clothes, right? So for my case, I wear jeans, long jeans, not shorts, because it's hard. You have to hold the kid, you have to run after the kid, so you have to wear comfortably. And as a shirt, actually our 원장님 was a nice person, so he bought all of us like black shirts like this because I can change my shirt in the class. I can wear whatever I want before classes, and then came to academy and just change my shirt into uniform and then teach my class. And after I finish my class, I can just change back to my original clothes. For my interview, if the person next to you doesn't speak English at all, you have to speak Korean. That is, I think, the only challenge that you can have in an interview. Or sometimes, also in Korea, we have Sky universities, okay? They are the top universities in Korea. The challenge is that you're a foreigner. You didn't go to those universities yet. Maybe you're going right now, because maybe you're in a university student visa, but you're not graduated yet, right? So those people who graduated from Sky Universities has advantage in life, because if you and that Sky University student graduate, applies in the same job, the company is gonna hire that person, not you, because it's considered that it's the top university in this country. But they might need someone speaking in English, like global department, international department. So in that point, if that person doesn't know English, yay, you got the job. So it's a little bit hard point. They probably know English, but if you speak multiple languages, like you speak English, okay, you speak Korean, which is very, very, very nice and important. If you speak Japanese, because you have to know geography as well. So Korea, we have Japan, we have China, so they're very close and they make business with them, right? So if you know Korean and Japanese and Chinese and other Asian countries, maybe Thai, maybe. So if you know those languages, that can be an advantage for you. For my challenges, I don't speak Thai, I don't speak Chinese. I speak a little bit Japanese, so I can introduce myself only though. But I cannot do business with companies except teaching English right now, because I don't speak those languages. So this is my disadvantage. This is my challenge in Korea. Most Koreans can speak English. Most Koreans can speak Japanese or Chinese in a good level, because they use Hanja, yeah? So they speak Chinese a little bit. And they already know Korean, of course. So that is your challenge. The language is your challenge and the culture is your challenge. When I heard that I got the job, it was actually the same day I got the answer. So I went to interview and he said, okay, let's start. I didn't know that I was going to start in the same day. But I was like, oh, did I get accepted? And he was like, yeah, you got accepted. I was so happy because I really thought I wouldn't be able to find a job in Korea, because every person that I meet, they say, oh, it's really hard to find a job in Korea, blah, 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 blah. And it was not. If you have confidence in yourself and if you have a good CV, if you have a good resume, you're gonna make it. There are lots of companies. Yeah, it's hard, but you're gonna have something to offer them because you're a foreigner. Of course, you grow up different, and of course, you have something different from them. So you just focus on your strong points. Don't focus on your weakness. Focus on your strong points. Your strong point is that you can have a different culture. It's also a challenge and a strong point. It can be the same thing at the same time. So your culture, you can just teach them about cultural stuff. You can teach them English. And sometimes if you're from English speaking country, you can work in schools. And I know a couple of people that works in schools as well. And I think they got the job when they were in their own country, and they got the job and they got called up and they fly to Korea like that and they started working. So that is different from my perspective, but it happens. So you can actually find other agencies that works with like Americans, New Zealand. I don't know how many countries. I think it's 7 countries or something, but I don't know all of the countries. So it's just English speaking countries. And you can find an agency and come through them. But you have to be careful what agency to choose. And you have to be careful with your contract. If your contract is only in Korean, you have to ask for the English translation as well, because you don't know Korean. You cannot just sign Korean contract. Even if you're fluent in Korean, the level of fluentness is not the same as Korean person. So you have to ask for English translation and then read your contract. That is very important. Read your contract and then sign it, please. Now I'm not young, but I was 19 or 20 years old when I first came to Korea. I came here because I wanted to be an idol. So I was very happy when I first came here. I had big dreams. I had big goals. I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna audition and pass this audition and I'm gonna become an idol. I had this mindset, but then the reality is so different. So if you wanna be an idol, maybe you wanna work as an idol. So if you wanna work as an idol, you have to be like top, because there are already lots of Koreans that want to be an idol, and they're fluent in Korean. They know how to speak, they know how to interact with their audience, they know how to make fans, and you not so much. You don't know that. I didn't know that. So even if you're very good at dancing, even if you're very good at singing, you have to know Korean. And I didn't know Korean when I first came here. I only know basic level of Korean, like 안녕하세요, 저는 세티예요, blah blah blah, like this very basic Korean. And that didn't help much. So you have to study more and have higher level of Korean. So if you got in a company, it's not over. You haven't debuted yet. You have to work until debut. And after debut, you have to work more. So it doesn't stop. Working doesn't stop. That's why I quit. After 7 years, I quit. I was in that business for 7 years. I quit. I don't want to break your hopes. I don't want to break your dreams, but you have to have a realistic mindset. Don't be me. Don't be sad. Okay? 좋아요. It's Korean barbecue. Oh, but if you're vegetarian, okay. For my vegetarian friends out there, hi. If you're a vegetarian, you can have bibimbap without the meat. You can have bibimbap. That's a good option. What else? Let me see. I'm not vegetarian. I love meat. I'm sorry. I don't know much about non-meat meals. What do we have? We have salads. It's the same salad. But the meat is very good quality. There's also one meat called premium meat in Korea. Very, very, very expensive. I haven't eaten it yet. One day. I'm gonna eat it one day. That's my dream. No, kidding. You don't even know. So you have to learn not one Korean, but you have to learn 2 Korean. Korean has 2 languages. So you have formal language, which is 존댓말, and we have more friendly language, casual language, which is 반말. And there is like a strict, how would I say, levels and statuses in Korea. If someone is even 1 year older than you, 반말 안 돼요. You cannot speak in casual language. You can speak someone who is younger than you in casual language, and you can speak someone is the same age as you, or maybe you're both hubes, which is in a company you have your seniors and juniors, but if you have your senior, you cannot speak your senior that way. Even if you're in the same age, if it's your senior, maybe it's best to use formal language. If they're friendly, it's okay, but just in case, just use formal language for your own sake. I didn't have a problem with that. I always use 존댓말 with my friends too. Like in the backstage, I have my friend here. But I also speak in 존댓말 with him. So when I first came to Korea, I didn't have any friends, of course, and I wanted to make friends, and I stayed in a guest house. So the best thing that you can do is staying in a guest house instead of goshwon. I know you don't have a lot of money the first time you came in Korea, but stay in a guest house, because in guest house there are lots of people from lots of different countries, and they're mostly tourists, and they also wanna visit Korean, areas and cultural places. So it's best to talk to them, and probably your manager is gonna be Korean, so you can talk to him as well. And there are gonna be Korean staff in the guest house, and you can talk to them, and maybe you can learn Korean in that way. And they told me that best place to go to make Korean friends was Hongdae. So I went to Hongdae. I have my 2 best friends from Hongdae. So I had my 2 best friends from Hongdae, but it was 10 years ago. Not now. I don't know about it now. I don't know what kids do these days. You can meet Koreans that way. And for Koreans, I learned that if you're a friend for a long time, it means that you're closer. So they're friends from elementary school, their friends from university are their closest friends. But if they meet their friends in company, it's not that close. close. Like their closest friends are the friends that they meet in school. So it's a little bit different. It's also cultural difference in friendship too. Because for me, if I meet someone anywhere, it doesn't matter. That can be my best friend. That person can be my best friend. But for Koreans, I think it's a little bit different. They cannot just meet someone in a street or a club or company and they cannot be best friends very quickly. So I think maybe it's 사람마다 다를 수도 있어요. It can be different from people too, but in my opinion, it's that way. It was like that. And my relationship with my coworkers are all foreigners, okay? My coworkers, all foreigners, because I work in an English kindergarten. My boss is Korean, but he's a nice person and he actually speaks English very well. He speaks to me in English and I speak to him in Korean. Good friendship. And my friends, my Korean friends are also, actually they are very good at English. But now they don't speak to me in English. But they are very good at English. I know. The first time we met, they spoke English to me. And because of them, I wanted to be good at Korean. Because they always speak in English to me and I felt I have to do something for them too. So it was like that. But they're very good people. My daily life in Korea starts with me waking up, wash my face. Today I have an interview, so I wore makeup, and I didn't wear makeup like on my face too. I only have my in my eyes. So this is actually beauty standards in Korea. So I wear makeup sometimes, don't wear makeup sometimes. I just dress like this. I just dress up, and the first thing that I do, going to university because I'm still a student. So I go to university. If my class is finished before noon, I got on the bus and go back to my kindergarten. I work there for 4 hours. My work ends at 6:30, but depends on the day. You might have to do more work, and then I go back home, wash my face, and prepare my meal. Oh, by the way, if you don't know how to cook, it's okay because in Korea we have Pyeongjong, which is convenience store that's open 24/7. You can just go and you can eat meals in there. So it's not in common in foreign countries, but in Korea you can just eat whenever you want. Because in working culture you might have to work for late hours, and that's why it's very easy to eat outside as well. And also for transportation, in Korea the transportation is so easy. You don't need taxi at all. The subway, the buses, it's so easy. My stress level went up and my actually hair started to fall down and my skin went bad from stress. But the reason is that I am not Korean. That's the stress, because I have to think about the language all the time and my family is not here. So if you're Korean, your family is here. If you have any problems, you can just run to your family, but I cannot. My family lives so far. It's back in my country. So the stress is not because of work. Actually, a little bit because of work, because I work with kids. But it's not just because of work. It's because of family. It's because of cultural difference. It's because of the language. Because you have to think about the language all the time and you have to translate what you're saying all the time. So it's until you sleep, you're thinking. And it's work. Even if I'm not physically working, I'm thinking in Korean. So it's work. Your brain is working. Yes. And for work aspect, working is also stressful for Koreans. But as a foreigner, you're gonna have a harder time, seriously. And to be honest, if you think that you wanna live an easy life, just stay in your country. Because you have your family back in your country. They can always help you. But in here, you don't have your family. So you just have to think what you want in life. If you think like me, if you think, okay, if I get stressed, okay, if I can work hard, it doesn't matter. I just wanna be in here. I wanna live in here. I wanna build my life in here. because I see my future in here, then it's okay. Then you should come here. Yeah, then you should come here. You should work here. I think I said that's the most important to do for a lot of things, but there are a lot of things that are important. I became more stressful person. Please edit this one. I love Korea, okay? I'm stressed, but I love Korea. When I first came here, I wanted to be an idol. Then, now I'm working as an English teacher, but I don't think that it's gonna be my work forever. I want to be a webtoon artist. So, if you read my work in the future, you wouldn't know because I'm gonna change my name. You will not know it's me. But in maybe 5 years, there's gonna be very famous webtoon, and it's gonna be my webtoon, and you're not gonna know it. So my dream is to become a popular webtoon artist. Yeah, I want to work in webtoon. That's why I'm studying 시각 디자인. 웹툰 작가 되고 싶으니까 시각 디자인 공부하고 있어요, 지금. Be careful in whatever matters. Just be careful. Be careful about the people. Be careful about your contracts. Be careful about the job opportunities, and be careful about the websites that you go in to look for jobs, because sometimes there are a lot of fake websites as well, and you have to research. And I got to learn there are a lot of bad jobs in Korea because they make you sign a 2-year contract and then they treat you very bad. It's not me. Thank God I had good opportunities until now, but I heard from people, I think you might hear from other influencers as well, but there are lots of English teachers that had very bad experience in Korea too because of their agencies. So when you start working as an English teacher, you have to check your agency, and you have to ask other foreigners too, like if they worked in this agency before. So that would be very important for you as well. Yeah. And be careful making a Korean friend too, because sometimes if it's the opposite gender, so for example, you're a woman and you want to make a friend, only a friend with a male, a boy, a man, whatever, and you have to think carefully because the other side might have different thoughts about you, because it's not very common in Korea to be a woman and a man. One more time, a woman and a man as friends. It's not very common. It does happen. My best friends are male. My best friends are boys, but it's not very common. They have to be a very, very, very nice people. So my friends are very nice people, but you have to be careful. I love you guys. So be careful generally. If you're still in your country and you want to come in Korea, you have to check all of your documents, especially your documents, and sometimes you gotta think about that. It might cost a little bit money because sometimes your documents won't go through and you have to prepare another thing. So my advice, this is like the biggest tip that I can give you, get every document twice. Okay, so have one of your documents here and one copy for yourself, because this might be disappear. So get one more just in case for every document. I know you can have only one passport. Okay, that is okay. You can have one ID. That's okay. But if you have your certificate, like university diploma or something like that, just get two. Just get your copy. And if you have to send your document to your office or agency or working place, whatever working place, send them the copy one. Keep the real one for yourself, okay? If they want to see the real one, just send them a picture or something. Don't send them the real documents, okay? They can lose it, you can lose it. It's very important and you cannot get another one. And if you want to come working in Korean, check your agencies. I told that many times, but check your agencies, check their conditions. Okay, so most of the teachers in here, not me, I'm working as a part-time, but most full-time English teachers, they get their worship, their rent from their academy, their transportation fee from their academy, and they have their own salary. So these are different. Your salary does not include your rent. So it's taro. It's all separate, okay? So just check these conditions, because sometimes they might say, oh, we are gonna give you 3 million Korean won, but it includes rent and blah 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 blah. No, they have to give you 3 million, they have to give you your rent, they have to give you your transportation. These are all different. And I heard that lots of English teachers get theirs separately. So just check these. And for taxes, okay, this is very, very important. Lots of hakons and lots of schools, they don't pay your taxes because you don't pay your taxes. They pay your taxes from your salary. We have 3.3% of tax reduced, and they cut that from your salary and they pay it to government as your tax. And they have to have this paper that say, oh, we paid all of your taxes, and you can ask for from your academy to give it to you. I forgot the name of that. It's just tax paper, and you can get it every year. You can get your tax back. Not all of it, it's like a cashback. So they pay some of your taxes back, and you have to ask for your academy, for your school, wherever you're working. You have to ask for this because I heard some of these 원장님, some of these headmasters doesn't pay taxes, and they just take those money for themselves, and they tell you that they pay taxes. So be careful about that too. You have to ask for those papers. I didn't answer everything like separately, and I mixed all of the questions actually. So these nice people gave me a paper, and my questions are here, but I mixed all of these up and gave all of my information to you guys. So for my tips, until here, everything I say is my tips for you. And if I have to say one more thing, just being a foreigner is hard in here, but if you really want to do it, you can do it because there are lots of foreigners that can do it as well. So just have a belief in yourself. I hope the best for you guys. Fighting!
If you're working in Korea, we love to hear from you.